So viewers, the United States has escalated its role in the Iran-Israel conflict, with President Donald Trump confirming America's direct strikes on Iranian nuclear sites in a high-stakes operation. The U.S. struck 3 nuclear sites, Fordow, Natanz and Esfahan. B-2 stealth bombers, missiles being deployed, with Donald Trump calling it a very successful strike. All U.S. aircraft are said to have returned safely to the base. We have breaking updates now coming in. The first response from the Iranian Supreme Leader, Khamenei's representative to Iran media. It is now our turn to act without delay. That's the response of Iran. As a first step, we must launch a missile strike on the United States naval fleet in Bahrain and simultaneously close the Strait of Hormuz to American, British and German as well as French ships. So it now goes to the waters as well. Yemen has also announced that the U.S. ships should stay out of the waters. The first response that has come in from Iran. My colleague Pranesh is joining us on the broadcast. Pranesh, first response coming from Iran in a clear escalation, saying that it is now our turn to act without delay.
You know, perhaps we are disrupting our regular morning broadcast for this coverage from, what it seems is a definite escalation, and this is history in the making. The reason I'm saying it is that a quick context before I run you through all the top updates. From the 1979, from the time the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran, there has been palpable tension between US and Iran. And you remember from 1979, and come to think of what Trump said just a few days ago, that we need 2 weeks to decide what we are going to do. Look, 2 weeks. They've come early in 2 days. As we speak, the American president has gone on record to confirm that the US bombers made 3 strikes, actually 6 strikes on 3 nuclear facilities. What are they? Fordow is the most important apart from Natanz and Esfahan, because Fordow, for our viewers who don't know or perhaps who are joining the broadcast on times now, they must know that Fordow is a highly fortified nuclear enrichment facility that Iran has. It's almost half a mile deep inside the earth, covered with rocky mountains, and which is why, one is seeing reports of the B-2 stealth bombers being used. They are called the bunker busters, and the ammunition on it is the GBU-57. Now, GBU-57 is the kind of ammunition that you need if you have to penetrate something as, fortified and protected as Fordow is. Now, Donald Trump has been asking for complete surrender. Complete surrender is the term that is used on multiple occasions. Khamenei, on his part, has said that Iran will not surrender. The U.S. has been alarmed by the rate at which Iran has been enriching its uranium, and they say that this does not look like it's for civil purposes. Now, the escalation that we are talking about is very simply this. America has joined the war. There were many memes on social media showing that, America is making a monkey out of Israel, that America will never actually join the war. But that's not true. Donald Trump, the man who was campaigning for peace, was offering peace deal to everyone, has dropped that plan, and he has instead dropped bombs on Iran. And this is
just a moment, and you can come in here as well. We have Colonel Arasan Singh also joining us on the broadcast. Colonel Arasan saying US has now officially entered the war. Nuclear sites within Iran have been hit. How do you see this escalating further?
No, I saw this coming because they had already moved their B-2 bombers from Missouri to Guam with in-flight refuelers. So that was an indication enough. Now, let me tell you that, his closed-door lunch meeting with Asif Munir had much to do with it, because probably they would have used Pakistani airspace as well, and maybe, in preparation for other facilities now and in future. So we must, I had absolutely no doubt that the Americans will pitch in, because right from the planning to deception stage, to execution stage, the Americans were very much involved. Now, what Pranay said that they will take, his statement that it will, I will decide in 2 weeks. It was just a matter of deception. So I was very sure. As far as, this taking on, Fordow, Natanz and all, if I may tell you that Fordow has almost, 3,000 centrifuges. And Natanz has 15,000 centrifuges. Now, Fordow, is situated near Qom city, and the nuclear facilities, those centrifuges are located much below the ground. And therefore, as Pranesh said, that required those, GBU 57,
Yes.
ordnance to penetrate that. So the American ambassador, the Israeli ambassador, to United States later, he very much said that this war cannot end without taking on Fordow. So this was coming, and ma'am, if I may tell you that this was very much America's war. When Trump walked out of that, that nuclear deal, I mean, he has got to have an alternative for that. He walked out of that P5+1 or a joint comprehensive plan of action, as initiated by his predecessor Obama. It was America's responsibility to create some kind of an alternative structure. So they went in for this kind of restructuring of the entire geopolitical
Okay, all right. Colonel Arsen Singh, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you for joining us. Like you mentioned, Fordow is
I have
one
a question
facility.
for Colonel Arsen, if you don't mind.
Yes,
Colonel Arsen,
yes.
because we have you, I don't want to miss the opportunity to ask you this, sir. What happens next? Because now this is out of the realm of speculation. It has happened. The Americans have entered the war and entered, like only America can. What happens from here on?
All right, I think we'll try and reconnect that line with Colonel Arsen Singh, Pranesh.
Yeah, we will have to. Priyank Tripathi is also joining us, Pratibha, on the broadcast. Priyank, you are in Israel, getting us all the updates from the ground. What's the buzz in the air?
Input which we are getting that there was an Indian evacuation plan which was scheduled for today from Israel in Tel Aviv. The Indians were told to come to the embassy, and because of the unavoidable circumstances, the Indians have been told not to approach and reach the embassy. So the plan of evacuation has been cancelled as of now. Soon after the attack happened, the IDF came up with a statement stating that there has been a curfew-like situation here for the better understanding of our viewers. What we can say that the school, colleges and the government offices have been told to remain shut. We know it for the fact that the kind of statement which came out from Donald Trump was itself indicating that they have achieved a major target which they wanted to achieve since long, but it is not yet over. On one side, Donald Trump has been talking about that how they have achieved something for the peace. On the other statement, on the same set of statement, he's also talking about that how many more targets are there which is yet to be achieved. So on the US and the Israelis have been maintaining the point that they have done this for peace.
Colonel Arsen is back with us on the broadcast. We are joining very shortly. We'll be joined with other guests also. But Colonel Arsen, I was asking you before the line got disconnected, what does this mean for the world now? Leader of the so-called free world, America, dropping the peace pretense, bombing Iran. What are we looking at?
I don't know, whether the Americans are totally on the wrong or the Iranians are on the wrong. But I can, there is nothing called wrong or right, when it comes to, geopolitics and, national interest and, where does the American interest lie. But I can tell you that this regime was not for Iran. It was for the regime itself. If it was for Iran, it would not have a parallel armed forces called Iranian Revolutionary Guards. So I just look at it like that. But I am again reiterating that so many times American strategic, thinkers and analysts have said that Israel is our unsinkable aircraft carrier in the region. So this has been so since ever since Israel was created. First, it served as an unsinkable aircraft carrier in the region for the British, and post-Suez, 1956 post-Suez crisis, it changed hands, with the Americans. So this was very much coming, and once Trump said, as I said earlier, once he walked out of the nuclear deal, as initiated by Obama, it was very clear that it is America which has to find an alternate, geopolitical reconfiguration or some kind of a, nuclear architecture. So they have gone in for this, and yes, you are absolutely right. It will have.
Just stay with us. Srinjoy Chaudhary also joining a broadcast. So is Captain Alok Bansal. Pratibha. Well, I just have one more question to ask of Colonel RSN before I bring in Captain Alok Bansal. The Iranian state TV presenter has said, sir, that 50,000 US troops are in the region. Now, look, for everyone who's watching this broadcast, I want you to elaborate on the kind of military prowess that Iran has. It is not anything in comparison with the US. Iran does not have a B-2 stealth bomber, so it can't directly attack US. But US has air bases around Iran in that in that region, military bases, so to say. What can Iran do?
Nothing at all. They can't do anything now. It is as straight as that. And yes, there is a silent ring. There is always a silent ring around Iran, with bases, right on the western coast of Persian Gulf. You have bases in Kuwait, you have bases in Qatar, you have bases in Oman, you have bases in Saudi Arabia. There are about, if I may say, 8 major bases in that region. So there was always a silent ring around. But what has mattered this time was that movement of B-2 bombers from Mussoorie to Guam, and I think they used the Pakistani airspace, and maybe they brought for this reason. They brought Munir on board. Details will follow. But the very important question you asked is that Russians are already out of that region. And the Chinese were trying to make forays into that region, trying to bring some kind of a truce between Saudi Arabia and Iran, and also all those that has gone for a 6. So there are many geopolitical scenarios that I can foresee.
We are going to thank you for the moment and request you to join us either on WhatsApp, Zoom, or whatever we can. In the meanwhile, Captain Bansal, first question early this morning, sir. Did you see this coming?
Well, it is difficult to say whether I saw it coming, but there were indications that US was planning it, because US has started moving the troops to Middle East. It had moved its bombers, it had moved its refuelers, and the indications that were emanating from Trump administration was that this was a feasibility. Let me make it very clear that at this point of time, the US foreign policy follows what Trump decides, and I think there is no pattern in it. So it's very difficult to say whether I was seeing it coming or not, because I think most US policy advisors, including probably Secretary of State, didn't know whether it was coming or not. Tulsi Gabbard's statement, you saw what it was. So whether it was coming or not is a difficult thing. But yes, this possibility did exist, and you could see the flip-flops that Trump was making as far as his statements was coming. And this is actually a result of that. But to my mind, it's a very, very dangerous provocation and a serious escalation of the conflict in this part of the world.
In fact,
yes, Praj.
Pranesh, since he mentioned Tulsi Gabbard as well, perhaps an indication that the United States may in fact strike is the fact that she also seemed to have changed her stance completely from what she said about a week ago to now. Just want to bring in another update for our viewers as well, Pranesh. Donald Trump has now taken to social media since he's making his announcements here. First was his announcement of hitting the 3 nuclear sites in Iran. Now, in the latest social media post, he says any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight. Thank you, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. So he signs off by saying that there will be a retaliation far greater than what was seen tonight. This is his response to Iran saying that they are going to respond to the United States.
Enjoy, what do you make of what is happening? Khamenei making it clear that they will now not stay silent. Trump saying any retaliation and you will have to face the consequences.
There are many, many bases, U.S. bases in the area, in Saudi Arabia, in Bahrain, in Oman, in Qatar, all these places, Kuwait. So you would expect a strike, an attempt by Iran to at least strike these bases. Also, the American aircraft carriers are there. So you would expect an Iranian retaliation, because Iran has made it very clear that they will retaliate. Now, how they will retaliate, we don't know for sure, but you would imagine that it could be ballistic missiles. Of course, America has air defense systems. America has anti-aircraft missiles, anti-missile systems. Everything is in place. And America has said, Trump himself has said, that if Iran retaliates, if Iran hits back, we will hit back harder. It will be easier, and there are many targets lined up. Now, that is what you would expect the Americans to do under these circumstances in this situation. But when Iran will hit, we do not know. But clearly, they will have to do something to show. This regime will have to do something to show to its people that, yes, Iran may have been struck by America, but America is great Satan, and we will hit back at America. That bottom line will always be there.
Iran claims to have hypersonic missiles. When is it going to strike? Military might, as far as Iran is concerned, is not comparable to, of course, the United States or even Israel. But the drone capability, what happens next? The axis of resistance, will that come in here as well, or has it collapsed already? The next few hours are going to be very, very significant on how Iran is going to respond. Pranesh, Srinjoy and Captain Bansal, requesting you to stay with us as we slip into a very short break. We'll be right back. Stay with us. The big escalation in the Israel versus Iran conflict as the United States has now officially entered the conflict, hitting 3 nuclear sites within Iran. The US President Donald Trump also released an official statement on these attacks. Listen in.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success